What's going on, guys? It's Mike Norris. This is Youtalk. I am here today with my good friend, Brett Gordon, who is an account executive at Entercom. What's up, Brett?
Hello, Mike. Happy to be here.
Yeah, it's been a while since we talked. We were just talking about accidentally shaving our beards before we recorded, but maybe we can save that for another time. Today, we want to talk a little bit about radio and broadcast radio and digital radio and stuff. And Brett knows a lot more about this than me because he's got a pretty extensive background in the space. I don't know if that's something you'd like to go into, Brett.
Sure, yeah, I'd love to talk about it. My background has been in radio and TV, mostly in the broadcast side of things. I started at WBBM News Radio, when I was in college, just as a promotions coordinator. So luckily, when I graduated from school, I was able to start at, you might know WCIU TV.
Oh, yeah?
The U, for anybody in Chicago, the U's got it. So I worked doing sales like 1 month after I graduated with Weigel Broadcasting. Worked there for 9 years, selling all of their, WCIU and their digital substations. And then they started a radio station as my last 2 years. So that kind of got me into the radio realm. And then after that, I wanted to kind of grow myself and, learn a little bit more in the media landscape. And, I knew radio had a little bit more opportunities on the digital side.
Sure.
So I was kind of an easy transition over to radio, where you still, the traditional TV and radio, it's kind of negotiated very similarly. But when you go toward the digital elements, that was something the radio was kind of a little bit ahead of for TV. So joining up with CBS Radio when I started there, which then became Entercom, kind of allowed me to get into that broadcast radio, and then, learning the digital side of things, which, I know you guys know at Youtech very well. So yeah. I'm a novice, but it's a learning experience.
I wouldn't say you're a novice, man. I've talked to you. I know.
Compared to you guys.
Well, let's talk a little bit. I mean, obviously, like the elephant in the room right now with everything going on is COVID, right? So I would assume that traditional radio, maybe right now there are less people listening, with commuting to work, maybe that's down a little, but I would imagine digital audio is doing pretty well. Would you say that's true?
Yeah, definitely. Hey, it's just a matter of, your habits. Every person has their habits when, they go through the day, and our pre-COVID habits are definitely different than our, during COVID habits. Obviously, the first 2 months of quarantine, nobody was really going into work unless you were an essential worker. So that, AM, FM drive wasn't really what it was in the past. But what people still wanted to engage in is their favorite radio stations that, they're not in the car in the morning anymore. So how do I listen to my favorite personalities in the morning? So they have transitioned to, going the streaming route. So our app at Entercom is radio.com. And we've seen it's like double-digit growth during COVID, just simply because people are listening in their new habits. So now, not necessarily today, but throughout COVID, with the work from home, the work from home lifestyle, you wake up, you may not get on, get work until maybe 7, 8, 9 o'clock a.m., where usually you might be in the car like 6 or 7 a.m. Now you wake up, it's a little bit later, but all you have to say is, hey, Alexa, turn on WBBM News Radio. Being in the home has really helped, amplify radio.com's reach right now, just because people can listen on their smart speaker easily in their home. When I'm here sitting, doing everything on my laptop, I can turn on the news in the background and have it right there. And then, afterwards, when I just want to listen to some music, maybe on XRT or something, I can just pop that on as well. And it makes it really easy. Now, the driving, it was very concerning about, the low driving, low amounts of people driving during COVID, because obviously radio is primarily in car. But luckily, people are actually driving a regular normal amount now than they were in January and February. So obviously March, April was down. We're double what we were in March, April. But the University of, the Maryland Institute of Tech, I wrote this down because Maryland Transportation Institute, they did a big study, a bunch of different markets to see what people's driving habits are now, using Google data and things like that. And they were able to see that people may be driving less miles per trip, but they're making more trips per day. So in a sense, people are actually spending more time in a car now because, hey, if they're making, 4 trips of 8 miles a day, where before they were making maybe 3 trips of 10 miles, they're still spending more time in the car. So actually now radio is right back to where it was before. So we're actually in a good, in a good place, because those people that, lost their ability to listen to the radio during their AM, FM drive now can listen to it. And now when they're in other situations, they now know how to listen to it, because during COVID, they learned how to use radio.com wherever they are. So yeah, it was bad, but now it's actually good.
Well, it's good to hear, man. I'm glad to hear that. I can tell you, I'm one of those people I'm a sucker for my morning shows, man. I've got like, my go-tos, and I hop in my shower. I'm the Alexa guy. I heard you like mention that. I'm all about like, just, I can't get enough of it, and I have noticed too that I've started listening to things more now than I did previously. And I don't know if it was a COVID thing or if my habits have just kind of changed as I'm getting older, but like I used to read things a lot. Now I listen to things a lot. And I'm like always streaming stuff. When I'm sitting here at my desk, I'm streaming stuff. When I was at home, I'm back in the office now, but when I was at home, I was streaming stuff all the time. And I think I like got into it more because of COVID for whatever reason, just because I was like, well, I bet a lot of people are streaming stuff now. Maybe I should too. And so I just did it. And now,
yeah. I mean, podcasting has been blowing up because, just like you said, people are looking for content. They're looking for something to do during COVID. So people discovered, different podcasts or, even radio shows across the country that they could get into, because what are we going to do? I mean, I'm bored. I got nothing to do. So people have been looking for alternative, ways to engage in media and, podcasting and things like that. And that has excelled a lot. So it is fun to see, I'm not a podcasting guy myself. I'm a reader, but there's, a difference. Some people are visual. Some people are auditory learners. I'm a visual. I can't listen to something.
We got a video going on here then.
Yeah. Otherwise, I'd be like, oh, what is Mike saying? I don't even know. Next question.
Well, I do have another question for you. So I want to touch on the targeting with digital audio as well, whether it be podcast or radio or anything like that. It's different, and I'm more familiar with this than I am on the traditional side. The traditional side, I know you kind of look at like the demographic and all that, and you got your points and all that stuff. I mean, you've educated me on this more than I know myself. But on the digital side, I know that I can target people based on like, I will only hit my demographic if I want to, as long as there's enough people in that pool, and there usually is.
To some, typical radio or TV, broadcast TV advertisers, they've never experienced that. Maybe they've done a little Facebook targeting here or there, but the typical advertiser that just did radio and TV, they really never had the ability to super hyper target exactly who they want to reach. So as products like search engine marketing continues to grow, people are looking for ways to use that kind of data within whatever types of advertising they're doing. So radio has, jumped in head first, at least, Entercom with our radio.com. They've really developed a whole slew of attribution elements to kind of pile on to the campaign. So now you can do extreme targeting. I think there's like 2,000 data points that we have, and all of our competitors, they've got the same kind of data points as well. So you can use the massive amount of people listening and all of the data that we collect, from their device. Ours is location based, and you can put that all together. And then we also use some third-party information from from our partners at Claritas, to really create a profile of who you want to reach. Who is your ideal profile that your company is trying to reach? And we create that profile, and we create that audience for them in radio.com. And then we have the ability on the backside to show exact attribution, showing web lift from month A to month B. We can show exact return on investment spend, return on an ad spend, cost per acquisition in real time too. And this all, this all goes into a dashboard where any advertiser can just log in anytime and kind of see where it is. So the transparency is really important, especially right now, because transparency has always been that key element in digital spending. That's always been that haziness, And so with the ability to see exactly where your impressions are landing, it's really helped, kind of ease that anxiety of spending. But then to actually see, what works and have the ability to continually optimize your campaign, you almost can't lose. Because say you've got, you start with, let's start with 3 different demos we want to reach to, and we want to do 2 different commercial creatives for each of those demos, and let's target that in 4 different markets. Well, which demo is working with which commercial? Well, we can see that in real time by placing the pixels on the client's website, on whichever pages that have that data that we need to collect, and we'll be able to continually optimize it no matter what. So, hey, commercial A is not working for demographic B. Let's wipe that out. Let's focus the impressions on demographic B, or on commercial B that's working for that demographic. And doing A/B testing with specific commercial creatives, specific demographics, and specific markets, you can continually optimize it and get it exactly where you want it to be.
Yeah, and that's something that we noticed, doing some campaigns with you guys it was awesome to see, like, this spot drove this many clicks, this spot drove this many. Here are the times that people came in, here are the new users that came to your website. I think generally speaking, like, people don't associate radio or even digital radio with being able to have that kind of tracking. I think that's something that, like, in people's minds, you just think, like, it just doesn't come to mind. And it's not quite that way, which I think that's great.
No, you're right. When people think radio, they think old school, You think of media, and when newspaper, radio, TV. Radio is just, an older medium, but it's older, but it's still very relevant in there. And just like all of these other, all of these other medias out there, they're continually evolving. So, a radio company 40 years ago is totally different from a radio company nowadays. I mean, most radio companies nowadays are, they're the over-the-air radio, and they're, a full digital agency essentially. We've got the email marketing, the mobile marketing, the SEO, SEM, social media, all that stuff. So for one advertiser who may not have the ability to grasp all that themselves, and not have the time to go to many different companies, it definitely helps out to have it all in-house at one place. So on that side, radio's kind of evolved a little bit, and they're not the old school that they used to be.
Well, what's funny is email, I think, is probably like 40 years old now. I know it's, I don't know. I don't know exactly.
Don't tell my parents that, because they wouldn't agree. They'll bring up a keyboard or typewriter story or something.
But people don't think of email as being old. I think, you think email marketing, it's like, I can't tell you how many goofy ass emails I get every day, man. I really do. And they're bad, like, there's a right and wrong way to do it. And man, I get some rough ones, but I don't know. Anyway, I digress.
Hey, I can only imagine, because I send some pretty interesting emails to prospects myself. So you're getting those emails, so I can only imagine some of the crazy stuff people are sending you.
Shoot me one. I'll give you my tips.
I don't know. It might go the opposite direction.
Well, I do want to touch it, because you've got a TV background too, and
yeah.
That's something that I think is pretty interesting as well, is how viewing habits are changing right now as well. You've got OTT and cord cutting and Netflix and streaming, and all the millennials are doing it and all that. I mean, is it all that it's hyped up to be, would you say?
It's legit.
Yeah.
I'm a prime example. During COVID, I had the same company that handled my internet and cable, and it was ridiculously expensive. And my cable kept going out, and I'm like, what other options are there? And as you start to look into these other options, these OTT options, I mean, for me as just the consumer, it's so much more affordable than doing something with like a cable company or something else. It's so much easier too. I don't have to deal with the customer service having to add a channel or something. All I do is go onto the website, click let's add that, and it's done. I mean, within a month, I've already gone from one OTT platform to another, because one has better TV stations than another. And hey, I want to see my trashy MTV shows. All right, don't judge me. But OTT really is kind of, I see it as the future of TV.
Sure.
You know, as I was heading out of a broadcast TV world, you know, I saw the writing on the wall that, you know, digital television is going to start to creep up and, you know, make an impact on the dollars that were coming to traditional TV, and it definitely has. I mean, when you have radio companies like Entercom also offering OTT opportunities, there's so many other ways to get involved in television. So, you know, it slowly started to, in my mind, eat away a little bit at them. But those TV companies have gotten on board too, you know,
Yeah.
getting on OTT exchanges. They're being able to offer these OTT solutions to their clients because it is a real thing. I mean, I don't have the exact data. It isn't a slide that I can send you on one of my massive decks, but it's legit. People are continuing to cut the cord. And quite honestly, throughout COVID, it's kind of the same situation that happened with radio.com. We're bored. We're looking for something else to do, something else to watch. I've gone through every freaking movie that's on cable. I don't know how many times I can watch, you know, Gladiator on AMC during the day anymore. Actually, I could watch that every time. I shouldn't have used that as an example. But, you know, you're looking for new content. So that was the opportunity for people to jump into like a Netflix or an Amazon Prime to test it out, to see what they have there, see how it works, see how to, you know, just manually control it on your TV, because that it's a new technology for some people. So, and then as people continue to test it out and see how easy it is, and see how you can almost view all the content that you can see on cable whenever you want on one of these platforms, it kind of makes it easier. Now, I will say the cable platforms are, you know, a little bit advanced. I mean, just the user interface, it's unbeatable right now. But the more that I explore some of these other OTT providers, I mean, they're pretty good. I mean, I'm on YouTube TV right now, and it's very fast. You know, it's not delayed, much quicker than another one that I had. So it's going really well.
Yeah, and again, those digital targeting options are there too, you know, where you can layer in, hit your exact audience, everyone you're looking for. Same thing with the digital audio. But
that's why they have to love it, because they take, it's the same concept with radio. You know, now you can no waste, just like you do in the digital world. Now TV is no waste. I mean, it's awesome.
Yeah,
it's every advertiser's dream.
Yeah, it really is, honestly. I'm one of those rare people who I have cable, and I have Hulu, I have Netflix. I probably even have another one that I don't know about that I'm randomly paying for. But I mean, you could target me anywhere, man. I'd probably got to reel it in, truthfully. But I do feel like, you know, looking at these platforms and stuff, or looking at like OTT specifically and all the streaming, it's almost to me like it's becoming like cable. And what I mean like that by that is, like, you used to have Netflix, and you had Netflix and Hulu. Now you've got like Disney Plus and Peacock and HBO Go, and, you know, like, it's like now every network has their own streaming service. It's like, what? I don't even know anymore. You know, like, they're all over the place. You got YouTube Live and all that. I mean, it's great. But I think, you know, what's nice about the advertising is you don't necessarily need to like pick one platform. You can kind of just run your ads throughout, which I think is really good.
Right. And then you do have the opportunity to, you know, pick individual platforms if you want to go to like a Hulu or somebody like that. You know, you got to be careful though, because, you know, some programmatic OTT companies, you know, they might just use that 15% of inventory that some of these networks, you know, offer them. Whereas some other companies, Entercom included, you know, we're using first look inventory, part of the 85% that doesn't go, you know, immediately sold off to programmatic. So, you know, it's not going to be just going overnight, you know, reaching impressions overnight, because, yeah, you know, an impression overnight is the same as an impression during the day. So it's important to, you know, talk to whatever company you're doing OTT with to make sure that your impressions are being spread out throughout the day, knowing that you're still hitting the target. You know, you don't want to just hit a target 12A to 6A, even if it is all your impressions and it matches your target audience. You want to make sure that you're getting it spread out. So, you know, those are some important questions to ask when you're, you know, starting to get into the OTT realm.
Yeah, you never know. Like, I fall asleep with the TV on all the time, and I'm sure a lot of other people do too. And hey, there's your ad, boom, you know?
Yeah.
What other questions do you get though? I think that's a good like segue. And what other questions should people be asking?
With OTT?
Yeah, let's start with, and I think we can go into, you know, radio and digital audio too.
Well, some of the main questions is the transparency. How do you report? How will I know where my campaign is being placed? Do I just hope and pray that like you're placing it in the right spots?
Yeah.
So, asking whatever company that you're working with, what is, how are you tracking? How are you reporting? How will I be able to view this information is really important. We have a, platform where, you can view through everything. I have monthly meetings with our clients to, show them how things are going. Same concept as I was talking with radio.com, you can do the ABC testing and continually optimize it. But knowing from the start, it's really important to ask that question because it's important to ask.
I mean, it's a question that I would ask, and that I think I do ask as well, like, you just don't know. And like you said, there's that 15% of inventory where it's, what are you paying for? And it can be hard for, I want to ask you this question too, like what kind of businesses, and maybe in what life cycle stage might they be in that they would want to look at doing some radio? Or do you want to transition back to radio? We've talked a little bit about it.
No, I mean, with radio and OTT, it's very similar in my mind. Radio.com, OTT, radio, broadcast TV. In my mind, they're very similar. For those companies that are trying to, radio is more of a middle funnel. Radio and broadcast TV, it's a little bit more branding, getting the name out, letting people know the products out there. The direct response, it used to be a lot better on that level, but I feel like it's gone down a little bit, but it is still there during the daytime. But what, radio.com and in specific OTT, that's a little bit middle to lower of the funnel because it's so targeted. That person that you're reaching has done some kind of research or done some kind of activities online to indicate that they fall into this profile that they should be served an ad. So, just knowing that and having that, mentality that people you're reaching are more likely to be interested in your product definitely comes across, more impactful.
Yeah, that makes sense. So I want to run you through a little bit of an exercise if we can, or like a scenario. So it's not a challenge or anything. Let me know if this is difficult, but
challenge accepted.
I want to give people like a visualization of, how this whole thing works and what they should do. Like, let's say I'm a business owner and I sell shoes and I've been doing it. Yeah, I've been at it for like a few years, and maybe I probably have less than $1 million revenue, but I've got a little bit of money to spend. Let's say I've got, $50,000 a month. That would be excessive probably for the situation we're talking about, but let's just roll with it.
Let's a very successful shoe store.
yeah, they're crushing it. They sell. So let's say I come to you and I'm and I don't really know what to do. I know I should get some marketing out there. How do you go about, like, if someone came to you and they're like, listen, I just have a bunch of money and I need a plan, how do you go about drawing that up for them?
Well, it depends what type of business it is. If it's more of a one location business and it's a shoe store where, people aren't necessarily going to, drive multiple miles to get there, I might even not suggest radio for them. You could go more of a digital route, obviously targeting around their location. I quite honestly, for a location like that, I would suggest them going a little bit social media first because, they can get the lower cost impressions, more impressions, and you can kind of flood that area a little bit better. When radio and TV really come into a factor, when, they can really benefit a business, it's when, it's a type of business that people are going to travel to, or that they reach the entire area, the entire market area that they're around. Because if you're a one location shoe shop, on, maybe in like, Buffalo Grove or something like that, you don't want to reach people that are, way south side in like Tinley Park or something, because that just doesn't make sense. You're Tinley?
Yeah.
I was going to say Deerfield because I'm from Deerfield, but I chose another. Buffalo Grove's right next door. So, I'm very, how do I put this? I don't necessarily always sell my products at Entercom. If there is another way for a company to be successful, I'm happy to point them that direction. But those companies that are going to be successful on broadcast TV and radio are going to be those multiple location places, or those places that are going to, draw people from a wide range, a very wide market area. Or, obviously e-commerce is great because, it's not, you don't have to go anywhere for it. So you can go anywhere and everywhere. But, radio and TV really help out when it's a location or it's something that, that people are willing to drive to, or that has multiple locations around, or they sell some kind of product that, you can only get it there, or there's a reason that you need to go there to get it. So, as we get more towards, the digital elements of like radio.com and OTT and targeting, you can get even more specific with, drawing radiuses around their location and focusing those impressions right around their location. And, once you get into the multi-market opportunities, you've got 20, 40, 60 locations. I mean, you're hitting people hard and you have so much data to target people. Like I said, with the A/B testing and everything and optimization, it's almost a win. You can't really lose in the long run.
Oh, I was going to ask you, do you think, you kind of just touched on this, and I want to say the answer is everyone, but I'd like to hear it from you. Do you see better results with products versus services, or both, or, pretty good? Or I hear this freaking app commercial, man, all the time, like Best Fiends or something. Oh man, I hear that goddamn commercial every day, and I'm honestly so sick of it, but they must be crushing it because they, I think they've got a lot of downloads, like #1 app apps or something. But what do you think?
So I don't know. It could go either way. So the question is, what is the exact question?
So do you say like a product? Let's
products
say
or services
versus a service? Yeah.
It's hard to say. I've never really thought about it versus products versus services. I have so many of each. I've never really thought about that. I'm going to have to take some time and think about it. As I'm thinking about it, I think most of my clients are more product or are more service based, at least on the local side. And then, more multi-market type opportunities are more product based, because obviously they need to reach more people in general. Service based, it's usually, more localized, unless it's, one of those online type services or like, online therapy or something like that. Yeah, I'd say more services locally. And then, when you're looking more multi-market, then it probably gets more to product.
Okay. Yeah. Well, one thing you said a little bit ago that I want to touch on, and then we could probably wrap up here. I know I'm taking up a lot of your time, but you mentioned, not being overly prescriptive. Like it sounds like you kind of listened to, the company when I came to you with my $50,000 shoe budget. You listened to my situation first, and then you recommended me maybe not even your services. That to me is so valuable in a partner these days, as things continue to get, more and more automated, and maybe the bar's a little bit lower now, where people, if they used to want to advertise, they had to go through someone like you or someone like me. Whereas now maybe they can just start up a little Google campaign on their own. Sure, they could run it themselves, but the strategy and the actual like brain behind it and having a trusted partner, I think that's really important. Would you agree?
It's so important to almost interview the client before you make any suggestions, because like you said, you've got to understand, what they can and cannot do. And so, when I'm working with somebody like you and Youtech, like I'm not going to start shoving search engine marketing and search engine optimization down your throat, because you're going to look at me and be like, no. So, it's important to know who your audience is. Whereas, if I was talking with, like a garage door installer or something like that, who, does a little bit of SEM, but doesn't really know what he's doing, that's something that I would definitely help out with. And, I can understand that they could help, need help with that. But it's all about the question and asking and, really learning what your client needs, because there's just no like one prescription that fits all. Every company is a little bit different. And, finding that one thing that makes them the most successful, or that, drives the most business to them, it's important to, find that out from them, because if it's working for them, let's enhance that, let's broaden it out, and let's see how we can optimize that. So yeah, it's super important to really understand what your clients need and not pitch them a whole bunch of crap that they don't.
Yeah, honestly. And if you're watching this and you're thinking to yourself, maybe the people you're working with just kind of, they were like, oh, you need SEO. Definitely. They didn't even hear you out. Like they cut you off while you were speaking. You might want to reevaluate that a little bit, because people need to hear you out first. And if you don't feel like you're being listened to, just think about it. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, it is important. It's important to have an open mind. Every advertiser needs to have an open mind. And it's so hard when you have, salespeople from a company A, B, C, all the way to, X, Y, Z calling you. But I will say, you will learn something new almost every time you speak with somebody. So, even if it's, a 20, 30-minute conversation out of your day to hear a pitch from somebody on something new that's going on, it's really important to understand how things are, progressing in every, in every avenue, whether it's TV, radio, social media, digital. I mean, it's important to, be able to, be that sponge and to consistently learn. So, hey, advertisers, when I email you, write me back and let's meet.
How do you stay up to date? What do you do? How do you stay up to date with everything going on?
I meshed into the work from home pretty easily. It's kind of nice because, our office is pretty crowded and, with 6 people right in your row and, people yelling up and down the halls, you get a little distracted. So it's really nice being in this, environment where I'm able to get my work done and, no distractions other than puppy boy back there. New puppy, so. So, it's actually been pretty nice. I can get work done a lot faster. The only thing that is a little bit annoying is, I'm sure you experienced the same thing, is delay when you're only communicating via email. And
that sucks.
It takes a little bit longer with that, but all in all, it's going good.
How do you stay up to date though with marketing? What's going on in the marketing?
Oh, yeah. See, I take things very literal sometimes, just like that. I answered that wrong.
I was interested in that too.
Just ask my manager. It's like, sometimes they'll email me something and I'm like, is that what you mean? And they're like, no, Brett. I'm like, this is what it says. I don't know. So what do I do? I tend to read a lot of the trades. Right now, radio it's really important to understand what's going on in radio, not even just locally, but across the U.S. Companies are transforming and reforming and changing. So it's important to know, what benefits your company may have over another company. And it's nice, being in the OTT space now, because now within Entercom, they do educate us on, what our competitors are doing and what new things are happening. So just the fact that we have so many things that we offer, we do get consistently, updates on new things that are happening. So it's kind of a nice thing to, have from your company to get updates on all these different products. Hard to, keep them all straight because it's a lot you got to learn. But all you can do is continually, learn and expand your mind, and it works. And I like it, and I feel smarter sometimes. So that's important to feel smarter.
That's always good. No, I ask because I subscribe to like a few different emails and stuff, and I got like my morning brew that comes in every day. I read that, and they've got like a marketing version too, and I listen to some marketing podcasts as well. And I'm just always looking for new opportunities to figure out where I can learn stuff. But maybe I just need you in my inbox.
Well, maybe I was just going to say some of those things that you're listening to sound interesting. I'd like to listen to some of those. Podcasts are hard for me to stay with, but let me know what you're listening to, because I love seeing things that you guys see too.
I've got some like quick ones where the episodes are like 2, 3, maybe 5 minutes, and I listen to those. So I'm a little in tune with that, but I do, this isn't like for marketing purposes, but I do listen to the Joe Rogan Experience, and those are like 3 hours long, and that one's that's a hurdle to overcome.
Some of my friends love it. I mean, people really love Joe Rogan. He's so big right now. I mean,
yeah. It's got that big deal, Spotify, yeah.
Yeah, that was one of the first ones that I learned about, like, how ridiculous podcast like mentions can be, how expensive they can be. Was it Joe Rogan one? I don't remember what it was. It was like, for one? It's amazing. It's amazing.
guy, man. He's the podcast guy. He like figured it out, and I used to know him from like Fear Factor and UFC fights. Now and then he's like a comedian, and he does a podcast. I'm like, geez, dude, like, wow. You know?
Dude's done everything. He really does. I remember him in UFC too, and then I saw him in Fear Factor. I'm like, oh, is that dude? UFC guy?
Hair. He actually looks really funny if you check him out. I don't know. He doesn't look good with hair. He looks better bald.
It wouldn't work on everybody. Not this way. I need to keep this hair.
Me too, man. Me too. Your time, Brad. I really appreciate it. If you want to get in touch with you or anything like that, what's the best way?
I can give my email, brettgordon1@gmail.com, or you can give me shoot me at my Entercom email at brett.gordon@entercom.com, and it's 2 T's in Brett. That's the best way to do Brett, because those 1 T Bretts are just missing a T. I don't know what happened. It just they lost it a lot. So Brett with 2 T's. Check me out on LinkedIn too, Brett Gordon. You can find me. Happy to have a conversation, talk. If I can help you out, cool. If not, just say hi. I like to talk. As I told Mike to interrupt me because I talk too much.
No, it was good. It was good. I'm just sad I didn't get to see your dog. I was told that, he might be making an appearance.
If you push pause on the video right now, I can go get him.
I don't know how to do that, man. I'm scared to get it. And maybe if I'm still in my 20s, I don't know.
Well, I'll send you a picture and you can just put him up on the end and be like, this is Brett's life.
Yeah.
If looking for media, call Brett Gordon. Or if looking to cuddle with a baby corgi, call Brett Gordon.
All right, man. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
Mike, thank you so much for having me. This is awesome. I really appreciate it. Youtech is an awesome company. Youtalk is an awesome program. So I really appreciate you having me on, and looking forward to seeing all of your episodes in the future.
Of course, man. We'll get you back. We'll get you back in another time.
Let's do it. I'm in.
All right. Hell yeah. Bye, everybody.